Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the Development Permit Panel for the meeting of October the 15th. I'm just going to introduce the panel. Here in person to my right, we have Cecilia Asham, our General Manager of Community Safety. And remotely, we have John Irving. He's the good-looking guy there. He's our General Manager of Engineering, Public Works, and I'm Joe Werstag. I'm the General Manager of Planning. So we've got three projects on the agenda. We'll be looking at design, form and character, getting public input, that type of thing. And before we get going, I've got an echo in here. We're just going to adopt some minutes of a previous meeting held on September the 30th of 2020. If there's someone to move.
Second.
No additions, deletions, so they're adopted. So that brings us to the first application, development permit. Auris Development Corp is the applicant. Property location is 6091 and 6111 Dyke Road. And this is for a small mixed-use project, residential and some commercial. And there is one variance for an on-site to not require an on-site loading space. So I hope it works better for you than for me, because I could hear myself the whole way through.
I think so. We'll see how it goes. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Dimitri, and I'm representing Auris Development today. Unfortunately, Dana could not make it. He's under the weather, and I understand he's doing well, but he's probably off for a few days. As I'm not very familiar with this project, I've got several other Auris projects. I was asked last minute to come in, and so I'm going to rely heavily on the project architect and the landscaper.
So with that, I'll turn it over to Greg Andrews, the project.
Sure.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Greetings.
Hi.
Okay, this is a project on the sort of Dyke Road and Dyke Road here in this end of Steveston along the river. And it's a project that's it's a 13-unit mixed-use development, so there's 13 residential units and a small commercial unit within it. It's located nested between the existing Nakati development, which you see in the image on the screen, which is in the background there. And just to the left of where the photograph was taken would be the pier development along Dyke Road. So it's nested in between the two of them, and it sort of highlights itself as very prominent from the point of view of an aspect from viewing from the park itself, and then of course from the river. So we looked at trying to maintain, and you can see the model in front of me, a kind of massing solution for the general form of the building to kind of be in keeping with the scale of the existing buildings. So that on the on the eastern edge of the development and the western face of the Nakati development, and behind there, we've maintained, we've tried to sort of model the building so that it stepped down in its height as it sort of gets close to that, and then and then relate it to the sort of an exercise in transition around the corner, but relate it back to the pier development, the massing, and the form and the character there as it turns northward along Dyke Road. It's a 4-story building. There's generous and ample roof deck space to take advantage of the views and the river environment. So the building is also nested further back into the site, so there's further north along the site, so it respects the setback, the environmental setback in through the space in front. So in fact, it exposes more of the existing Nakati building's west face for views as well. And access, it's on developed over a full deck of parking, fully concealed and landscaped on top of. Access to the parking, as you bend around, you can see in the image there, is kind of the conveniently located just at the kind of off the corner of the building, and that's where you recess down. In the middle portion of the front canopy at street level is the entrance to the building's residential lobby, and then to the left portion on the residential side, or on the street level side, is the commercial space, the frontage. The building is also designed in respecting the potential for acknowledging the future development of the rest of the block. So to the north of the building, there's development, there's recognition of the potential for a lane pedestrian right-of-way that would link this Dyke Road edge along further into the neighborhood to the east. And in that context, looking at the potential for this building to ultimately fit into an overall scheme at some point in the future, where the Dyke Road and London Road would be ringed by further development. It creates a potential for a nice centering courtyard feature, and so we tried to kind of respect that in the massing as well, so that the building on the northwest corner of the Dyke, or in the northeast corner of the property, there's a kind of a setback and a courtyard focused in there to kind of become part of the larger experience of a bigger courtyard at some point in the future too. Can just run through some more images. There's a kind of a view looking north now along Dyke Road, as I say, and then where the building on the existing building on the left in the image is the current pier development, and you can just see the edge of capturing the edge of the Caddy development that's existing here in terms of its character and massing and height. So it steps down to kind of respect and reflect sensitivity to maintaining as much light through in between the buildings as possible, and then it rises up as the building, as you sweep around on Dyke Road to the north, to reflect and kind of respect complement the other character of the existing pier development along the way. The building is stepped along Dyke Road for that reason, to kind of on the second level and above, to step back to again open up that sensitivity to the edge of the building and the edge of the street. We've been exploring, or because we've been exploring ideas of maintaining as much accessibility through the building and around the site as possible, the upper roof decks are designed so that the elevator overruns actually, or the elevators can service those roof decks themselves so that they become more fully accessible. Because of that, then the overrun condition, the height of the box of the elevator shaft has to rise up even further. But we've tried to maintain a clustering of those two elevator towers towards the center of the mass of the building itself, to kind of reduce any impact visually from grade or street level, or and overshadowing issues as well. Again, it's the building is sort of seen as you experience it along Dyke Road, as kind of a transition between the existing character and neighborhood character along Dyke Road that the Caddy edges towards. So in respecting it, sort of picking up on architectural clues as to how you kind of treat that arrangement. And then the building kind of relates itself more directly to the river, orients itself more to the river as it bends around, and starts to introduce more modern, I guess, contemporary materials, and then bending around finally to face opposite the park space in front of the pier development. It takes on the character, which is sort of not mimicking, but relating and complementing to the character of the pier developments itself in terms of scale and everything. So these are just further images. Sorry. So we're talking about access to a underground or a concealed parking area for the development. And again, there's two cores, vertical cores through the building, accessing each of the levels. So the main level features the access adjacent to the residential entries. The residential lobby is this portion in here, serviced directly by that elevator and through a connecting link potentially to the other elevator as well. And the development of the outdoor courtyard space in the corner there. So there's largely, as I said, there was 13 units, so typically we tried to maximize the potential for each of the units to gain windows not at least on two sides, so we get natural ventilation where we can. Some of it's compromised in some areas, but we've articulated the front of the building to kind of at least give you that reasonable aspect of some natural ventilation control. And as you go up through the levels, then you end up at the upper roof decks so these are private roof decks for the units directly beneath them. And then this is the building on the unit over here next at the fourth level against the edge of the existing caddy development. Also sort of spills out and has a bit of a deck reaching out towards the river as well. Again, this is somewhat seen in the model and the rendering as well. Transitional character in terms of the shape and massing along the edge here. This was an earlier shot, just comparing kind of a view of a concept model approach to generate some sort of reflection of the intent of the scale and the character. Here's the existing condition here with Nakati, and then adjacent to is the existing house. And then this would be the potential development here with its getting its character form. And I think that's it. I mean, I'm happy to take any questions. I'd like to turn it over to you and possibly now to
Sure.
explain some of the landscape.
So we'll hear from the landscape architect and then we may have some questions for you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ewan from PMG Landscape Architects. So the overall landscape is to generate the context respect for environment with lush green. So along the south edge, we try to maximize the view to the Stevenston Harbor. So there would be no fence installed along this edge. The unit's yard is defined by the 2 feet high retaining wall. And all the plants along this edge is kept lower than 2 feet high. Only one tree is planted at the corner along this edge. And also along this edge, we try to solve the transition from the site to the environmental area. Therefore, we minimize the private sidewalk and the height of the retaining wall. So instead of building lots of retaining wall, we are proposing landscape berm to transit the grading change along this edge. Along the west edge, we are proposing the saw cut concrete, which whose saw cut pattern are the same as the paving on the other side of the dike road. So along the north edge, this is a 3 meters right of way. We are proposing the wood-looking paver along this edge, which respect and related to the existing wood deck on the southeast corner of the site. Along the east edge, according to the neighbors' residents' comments during the rezoning during the rezoning time period, Allen block terraced retaining wall with 42-inch wood picket fence are provided to creating the privacy of the site. And the fence on the south side is limited, trying to save the view of the harbor from the neighbor. All the fence along the east edge and the north edge are removable in case of the future, the potential develop will happen. About the amenity area, because this amenity area is enclosed by the architecture from the west edge and the south edge, we try to maximize the natural sunlight. The tree we planted around in this amenity area is at the south edge and the east, and keep the north edge is open. And also we put the picnic table in this area. So to maximize the play value, a potential of the children play, we are proposing 2 pieces of Robinia play equipment with multiple play values here. And the grading of this amenity area is consistent with the context, so residents can access this amenity area easily. In terms of sustainability, we are proposing 9 trees total and more than 400 plants, including shrubs and ornamental grass. The plants we pick are concentrated on the bird habitats and pollination, and irrigation will be provided for the plants.
So I'm jumping around a little bit, but we've had some feedback from the neighbours to the east about some cottonwood trees that you were planting. Where are they? Can you show me where they are on the landscape plan?
Cottonwood tree?
I think so, black cottonwood.
That's,
Well, we don't have cottonwood tree.
sorry, Joe, I'll take that.
Thanks.
Yeah, the issue with the cottonwoods occur largely within the environmentally sensitive area.
Okay, in
which
the
is
RMA.
largely outside the site, although it does overlap.
Yeah,
So it's not specifically dealt with or called into focus on the landscape architect's
okay.
issue.
So can you just point out to me on this plan where the edge of the riparian area is?
Well, the edge of the riparian area is this line that's a little bit
Okay.
sort of.
So we've heard
And this
about
is the
the
property
planting within property line. Where are the, can someone tell me about the planting outside the property line in that riparian area?
Unfortunately, our QEP was not able to be in attendance.
Okay.
You have a plan that shows where the locations are, because I have on the paper plan that has that planting. So do you have that on your screen that you could go to?
No.
No?
Okay.
Through the chair.
Why don't we finish up here with the presentation if we haven't? Oh, you're done? Okay. All right. Staff are dying to get in here. So Suzanne, what do you got?
Yes, through the chair. Plan number 22, the second last page in the package,
Okay.
includes a planting plan. There is a dark circle noted in the legend on the bottom right.
I'm sorry, which one was it
It
again?
is plan number 22. It's the second last page of the plans.
Second last page. Oh, okay,
There's a
yeah.
dark circle, and then you can see the corresponding circles on the planting plan to the left.
Oh, so they're the cottonwoods. So you've got 4 up against the property to the east and 2 at the west end. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see whether other panel members have any questions regarding the landscape or architectural design.
Sure, 2 questions. One is the at-grade landscape area where the play area is. It's right now 2 sides with the building, but it's open. There's no gates or anything. So from a septet perspective, because it's a bit hidden from the street, what is being done for security and oversight of the children playing? That's question number 1. And the other question is, you talked about the elevator being accessible to the roof deck as an accessible feature, but they are private roof decks, are they?
Correct.
Okay.
As relates to the courtyard, the building is, the way the site is developed, or the way the surrounding sites are developed, there's in here, there's an edge here of the existing warehouse next to the property, which actually confines this route through at this point. And there's also another warehouse backing onto the front, the sort of encircling this, the courtyard itself. Although these don't extend up too much higher. I mean, they're like 1-story buildings, as it were, from the level of the courtyard. And you've got residential rooms above here, all the way up, and here as well in this space for overlook.
Do you have a walkway along the north property line?
Yes, there's a walkway. This whole 3-meter wide right-of-way is a walkway.
So that's a public walkway?
Well, yes, it's a...
Just dead ends right now, right? So there's provision in the planning for the neighbourhood for that to be upgraded to a lane, is that correct?
Well, only when the other development
Yeah.
occurs.
Yeah,
Then
right.
it would, because there's another property before you get through to the
Yeah,
street over here,
right,
this would then be organized so that it allows part of that access through, shared with the potential for the development on
Yeah.
the other side to complete that access.
okay. John, do you have,
Yeah,
oh, hold on, John.
okay.
You just hold it. Okay, Paul, what'd you have?
I just wanted to add something with respect to the cottonwoods. Our QEP did respond to planning, I think, I believe it was this morning, suggesting a Pacific willow.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason for that is it thrives in full sun to part shade. It's a good tree for riverbanks, wet meadows, even standing water. Valuable restoration species for stabilization and easily propagated, and there are several in the area.
Okay,
So
so you're willing as the developer to switch out the planting?
Absolutely.
I jumped the gun a little bit. I thought that while we were talking about landscape, we could just deal with that. But we will come back to it because we have, I think, several pieces of correspondence that
I've heard about that.
that deal
And
with
if
that, yeah, but, okay,
Okay, and if that isn't the appropriate tree, we obviously would be.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I was asking because I was curious. I knew that there had been some concern expressed, but I hadn't heard in the presentation where these trees were, so.
Right.
I do understand now, and we will deal with it in due course.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot. John, did you have questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just maybe picking up along your comments on the RMA. It's unfortunate your QEP isn't here, but I wanted to understand better what the plantings are there, and I guess you've got a planted area that's on private property. You've got similar plantings in an area which I guess are city right-of-way immediately south of that. And what's the maintenance plan there? I mean, is Strata going to be expected to maintain that RMA in perpetuity, and then the city maintains their half on the other side of the property line? Is that the plan?
Come on up.
I can't answer that.
No one wants to answer your question.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that. You know, Dana has been heavily involved in this.
Okay,
So it's difficult for me to.
so maybe,
Can staff offer anything in that regard?
well, I think that typically the Strata has maintained the boulevard areas adjacent to, and so this is an RMA, but, so it's a little bit different, but, you know, I would expect that it would be maintained. You know, I think what we can probably do is, we can't resolve it today, unfortunately, but we can flag it for staff to resolve before, if in fact this moves on to council after today, to resolve it before bringing it to council.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. I do
Oh,
have,
sure, Suzanne?
through the chair, it's been determined the Strata would maintain the on-site environmentally sensitive riparian management areas, and there is a legal agreement secured through the rezoning on this. So the parameters are outlined for that.
Right. Now,
Okay.
John's point was that some of the RMA is off-site in the city right-of-way. So would the Strata be responsible for maintaining that as well?
I believe so. I'm just waiting to see if there's any confirmation from other staff on that.
Yeah,
We may
okay.
need to report back, as you've mentioned.
So if we can get you an answer today, we will, John, and if not, we'll flag it to be resolved.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
And maybe I just missed it. The play area is on the rooftop, is it? Or that's ground level?
Ground level,
Ground level.
northeast corner.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's surrounded by the buildings to the east and the north, and then the proposed structure.
yeah, there are a couple of industrial buildings, long-term industrial buildings to the north and east, but eventually they would redevelop. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I do wonder in the interim, because it's so well hidden, whether a little gate, you know, right where you enter the pathway would be something to consider.
Absolutely.
And the other question is, the cottonwoods are much bigger trees than the willow that you are proposing to put in. So are there opportunities to either have more of them or upsizing? I mean, at best they do like 8 or 9 meters, is about as high as they could grow at maximum. I know you're trying to preserve the view in the front, so.
Yes, the view is important, obviously, but yeah, we can work with staff and the QE.
Okay. All right, I think we're done with questions. Mr. Rees, do you have staff comments?
Thanks, and through the chair, I'll actually ask Suzanne Smith to
Oh, sure.
provide
Yeah.
her staff comments.
Yes, through the chair, so some of the improvements and contributions include the environmentally sensitive and riparian management restoration enhancement works we've discussed that are both on-site and off-site. These will be secured for the on-site portion, or sorry, for the on-site portion through the qualified environmental professional report, and for the other areas through the service agreement works in the city road allowance. The service agreement will also include road and frontage improvements along Dyke Road to the west of the subject site, including construction of sidewalk, boulevard, and street lighting. There will also be the on-site future public pathway within the right-of-way along the north edge of the site. So to clarify questions asked earlier, along the north edge, that would be a public pathway for pedestrians only. I will also mention the outdoor amenity. Although there's no fence to the public pathway, there is a landscape berm that helps to try and enclose and secure the space, to help clarify. There is one variance tied to this development, which involves having no on-site loading space. It is supported by staff as the frontage improvements include installation of a loading lay-by just to the north of the driveway entrance, which is to be incorporated into the required Dyke Road frontage upgrades and constructed through the service agreement. This variance request was identified at rezoning and no concerns were identified previously.
Okay, thank you. Does the panel have any questions for staff?
Lay-by will be realized because it's only partially on this site. So as part of the off-site work, the actual lay-by will be installed, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, John, any questions for staff?
I think I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So you can have a seat, sir. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment? No? Okay. I know we've got written material on this one, so I'm going to ask, Suzanne, do you want to walk us through the written material?
Sure, through the chair. Yes, there's one piece of correspondence from Mr. Oostergo regarding concerns around commercial parking in the area and support for the off-site loading bay in the lay-by. There was notation of commercial vehicles parking on illegally on Pier Development, which is to the west. Staff can confirm there is a loading space for commercial vehicles for that site to the west that has a door that is available to them. So there was support ultimately through this correspondence for the proposal for loading for the application.
Okay.
We then received, I believe, 6 comments from the neighboring property, I believe, to the east, the Nakati development, from a number of individuals regarding concern for the black cottonwoods, both due to allergies and the plugging up of window screens and air intakes as a result. And as we've heard today, they were originally proposed as the cottonwoods were, as they were deemed to be appropriate for the site contacts, the sloping nature of the area, and similar trees in the area. However, the applicant has advised that they have provided an alternate option through their qualified environmental professional that could address this issue. So staff have initially advised that that seems acceptable. They'll need to just confirm this through the QEP and make sure the plans are updated to ensure that everything's covered off prior to issuance.
Okay. So for the folks next door, was the sole issue the tree type? Were there any other issues raised?
Through the chair, no. The
No.
issues were related to the tree.
Yeah.
The trees.
Okay. All right, great. So that brings us to panel deliberation. We do have a recommendation to approve from staff. Maybe I can see, is there someone to move that recommendation?
So moved.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. Any comments?
I just want to say that I appreciate that the units are larger than normal, so it will bring some families hopefully into the neighborhood, so that's a plus.
Yeah, I'm happy to support it. I think it's a key site because it's transitioning, from the form and character to the east, with the form and character to the west. And I think it's a really nice little project. In fact, we've had lots of nice projects in this neighborhood, so it just seems to be one more. John, did you want to comment before we call the question?
Yeah, I just echo those comments. I think the fit on this site, which obviously doesn't seem like the easiest site in the world, looks like it's always been there, So
Yeah.
appreciate the architectural style, breaking down the mass, and happy to support it.
Okay, so I'll call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? So it's carried. And then there would be direction to staff to work with you before moving on to council to just finalise the change of tree species. And we'll leave it to staff and your QEP to determine the locations and number. And also the maintenance, just clarify for us the maintenance. But I would expect that the RMA, the maintenance that's off the property but really part of this development, that it would be tied to the strata. Yeah.
Through the chair. Sorry, I do have confirmation on
Oh,
that.
you do?
If I may.
All right.
That the city would need to maintain the RMA portion within the dike allowance, and these works are covered through the service agreement, so then the city would follow up with maintenance on that.
So So
Definitely be the
who
city.
maintains the stuff in the road right-of-way?
In the road right-of-way is the city, and then the on-site portions of ESA would be the applicant or the development.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna leave that with staff. I think you should at least have a conversation with the engineering department about whether that's a satisfactory arrangement. Yeah, it's beyond the scope of the panel, to be honest, but I think it's a fair point because, you know, if I understood where Mr. Irving is coming from, the maintenance of the RMA areas is a little more specialised than what we typically do with our equipment. Yeah,
There's no.
For this type of planting, yes.
yeah, and that's a good point too. Property line is to some extent irrelevant, right? Yeah, you probably don't want us to run our brush cutters through your planting, right? Not that we would. Okay, so you're good. We're going to move on to the next item. We're just going to give you a minute to grab the model, grab all your stuff, and then get set up for the next one. Are we all good to go? Yeah? Okay, just a quick introduction then. This application is a development variance permit. It's for property located at 8240 Number 5 Road, and it's an addition to the existing dormitory building with a setback variance. So are you going to take this one again? Yeah?
Greetings.
Greetings.
We have Peter Chern representing the Dharma Drum Buddhist Association here as well. And Peter can pipe in for any kind of questions that relate to the concern, clarity on their end. This is a project that's, you know, as I say, it's an existing building, and we're looking at sort of to satisfy the need of additional space for the dormitory that's existing on the property. The dormitory sits right on the edge of the boundary between the two zones, right at that edge. So the variance itself is one where it just involves kind of an existing non-conforming use to satisfy the setback. Normally it's a 7.5 meter setback along that eastern edge there, where it would take it practically through the building that's existing. So the two small additions to expand the capacity for additional couple of extra bedrooms for resident nuns occur on two wings. There's an existing courtyard that's planted through here between the temple portion and the dormitory portion of the building. And we've deliberately tried not to enclose all of the courtyard so that it's held back a bit. It's an existing building which is 2 stories in height now. And so the additions would occur on both the ground level and an expanded second level addition. And just again, to kind of give an overview and context, here's Number 5 Road running across the front. This is the property in here with the existing temple. And there's the little existing dormitory building right at the back edge of that assembly area. So, and then the space in between is the courtyard. And just on both corners of the existing building would be the area that's designated to expand. Again, from the entry off of Number 5 Road into the building, you can see in the roof form of the temple building in beyond the parking area. And again, it's really looking at this sort of, it's too bad that the shading doesn't come up too clearly, but that's the extent of the additional expanded area on the ground level. We're limited because of the floodplain covenant limiting the building, limiting that expanded area at that level below the flood level. So on the ground level, nothing happens on this side except there's a rework of an existing internal stair to allow capacity on the upper level, which is tied across there. And then the two upper level rooms that are added to those wings. And again, the building is sort of consistent with the character and the massing and the form with the existing building, so it's just really an extension of it. Here's a view, kind of image views below here, the existing condition, and then one of the upper level expanded wings. This is some views into the courtyard along the northern edge here. The property is fully landscaped with a hedge across that northern edge of the building. On the southern edge, there's a little bit more sort of trees and soft landscape. And then the internal courtyard space here with the existing Japanese maple trees. So that's...
Okay, I think that gives us a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
So the additions are not actually at zero. They're, it's the building that's, the current existing building that's at zero setback. The additions are actually more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Current existing building, that whole east face of it is sitting on that boundary line.
Yeah. Okay, so if there aren't any questions from the panel, let's just hear from staff, and then we can, if there are questions, we can fire them off at staff or the applicant. So, Mr. Reese, are you going to do this one, or?
I'll take this one on, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple of comments, if I may. The proposal for the addition of the dormitories is consistent with the existing zoning on the site, except for the variance as outlined in the staff report. It's also consistent with the ALC's non-farm use, previous ALC non-farm use approval for this site. Mm-hmm. The congregation is currently farming the property and has agreed to register a 4-meter wide SRW along the eastern edge of the property, providing for a future north-south farm access road across the backlands as per city policy in this area. The applicant has also agreed to minor landscape changes to improve the pedestrian access to the site and are being secured through this permit.
So Josh, the right-of-way would be immediately behind the dormitory building, is that right?
It would be along the eastern property line.
Along the
Well,
eastern,
yeah,
so
the
it's
eastern-
right at the back?
Yeah.
Right at the back.
Right
here,
at the
just
back,
on
okay. Yeah, and there's some debate about whether that road would go in, but you're making provision for it anyway.
Correct, we're taking the SRW at this
It's
time.
not really a full-fledged road, it's a farm access type
Farm access.
deal. Okay. All right. John, Cecilia, any questions?
Yeah, just one question. There were 2 trees shown in the existing level 1 courtyard, and then I just wonder if you are removing them from your photo. They don't look like very large trees, but just what's happening with them?
Currently, there are 3 trees in the courtyard. So this one, and this one. This furthest one located on the northern edge here is the one that has to get removed because that's being immediately impacted by the footprint of the expanded area. This one is sensitive, but the intent is to try to maintain it and retain it as much as possible. And they're both non-bylaw trees. They're under the 0.2 diameter.
So they would have been installed as part of the original development, yeah? The courtyard area, or, yeah?
Do you know if that was planted? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, any questions, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't have anything additional.
Okay, do we have anyone here that wants to make comments on the project? Nope, anything written?
Nothing,
Oh, okay, this is straightforward. So we do have a recommendation to support if there's a mover. Moved, I've got a mover and a seconder. John, seconder? Yeah, there you go. So I'll call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. There you go. That's fairly easy. All right. So the third and last application is a development permit for property at 9751 Bridgeport Road. And this is, I think, some fairly minor exterior renovations for a new retailer. So did you want to present the works? Yeah, you can just do it briefly if you like. This one's pretty straightforward. So just come on down. You have to come down where the microphone is and just tell us your name and address for the record and then any comments that you'd like to make.
Brenda Jones, Dover Jones Design, 1217 13th Street, Southeast Calgary.
Okay.
Okay. So this is an existing golf town that we did the interior renovation for over a year ago now, I guess. And we're just trying to get the exterior to kind of match the interior.
Okay.
Oh, am I in control here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's self-serve.
Yeah, okay. So this, so this is the existing exterior.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oops, okay, press the button. And that's what we want to do,
So is it just the main entrance that you're taking care of?
pretty much. Yeah, we're just going to repaint the existing stucco
Yeah.
on the sides.
Okay. And nothing changes on the elevation to, is it Four Road? We've got some houses across the street. But you're not, okay.
And those, what looks like giant screen TV are not
No, it's just graphics.
graphic? Is it gonna be lit?
No, not lit.
Looking for a sign fee?
Huh? Looking for illegal signs to give them a warning that they can't do it.
Well, there is existing graphics on the building right now, I believe. Not sure.
Yeah.
Let's go back, but
No, that's fine. Graphic is fine.
So they're images, not signage? So they're images
yes, just a
rather
minute.
than signage? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep.
And so the wood is a PVC product. So it's durable. And we're trying to keep as much, well, we'll just kind of clad over what is there for the most part. And then those are the two paint colors for the stucco, the existing stucco.
Okay.
So it's just the front of the building. That's the new. Been there for a while and we just like to kind of update it a bit.
Okay, sounds good. Is that it?
Pretty much it. That's the interior, the new interior versus the old interior. A bit different.
All right, let's see if staff have some comments on this, and I don't think we've got any members of the public here, so. What do you got, Josh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few comments on this. As the applicant has noted, the scope of the works are restricted to exterior works only on the front side of the building. The applicant is also voluntarily providing 2 bicycle parking stands for a total of 8 new bicycle parking stations. Staff have attended the site and reviewed landscaping on site and thought that the planning was, the existing landscaping was in good condition and consistent with the site's original development permit. no variances are associated with the application.
Okay, so it's pretty straight up. Okay, any questions from the panel? I don't see any members of the public. I'm assuming, sir, that you're with the team.
I am.
Would you like to offer some comments? Or?
Not really, it's,
Okay,
Pretty straightforward.
yeah. All right, anything written on this one?
Then,
Okay, positive staff recommendation. Someone to move?
So moved.
Okay, moved and it's seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried. There you go.
Thank you.
It's done. It's all good. Is the next meeting on the 28th?
yes, we will be holding that meeting.
Okay, all right, then we're adjourned.